A crowded room, her eyes narrow. You feel suddenly small, like she knows your secret. The laugh track fades and the mirror arrives disguised as a woman's glance. Your stomach drops, not because she is powerful, but because a part of you is loose and exposed. You mistake being chosen for being understood. Performance rushes in. This is Jung projection in real time, disowned content slipping off your face and landing on hers. The shadow you refuse becomes the mask you see. The animal inside you colors her expression, turning neutral data into verdict. Under the attention economy, fantasy scales instantly. Profiles, reels, captions. You edit yourself for applause, then fear the audience you created. You check your phone. A delayed reply becomes judgment. A playful test feels like a trial. You mistake tension for doom and validation for safety. The stage demands tribute, so you pay with compliance. Meanwhile, your center thinks. Some people, under certain incentives, pull on visible handles. Need, hurry, over-explanation. They are not villains, they are mirrors. The forge is impersonal, heat reveals weak welds. You mistake the fire for punishment when it is measurement. Boundaries would cool the metal, but boundaries require ownership. Own that image. If her glance can shrink you, it's your reflection, not her power you're meeting. Jung gives you a map, not a moral. Under stress, complexes grab the wheel, and you see through an animal filter, turning neutral faces into prophecies. This is Jung projection. Disowned material painted onto strangers. On the social stage, you reach for a mask, then forget you're wearing it. Individuation is the slow reclaiming of those parts, the steady cooling of hot metal until it holds shape. You mistake intensity for truth. It is your own color flooding the scene. Breathe, then look again. Lacan reminds you that desire circles lack, and the gaze can rattle you without a word. In the attention economy, algorithms echo your fantasies, then sell them as perfect match. Parasocial closeness trains you to want a mirror, not a partner. And when real dating dynamics appear, you panic at ordinary ambiguity. You mistake a delayed reply for doom. You mistake applause for safety. Some people, under certain incentives, simply reflect what you broadcast. Strategy, not sin. Treat perception like chess, not confession. Name your pieces, time, standards, boundaries, mission. Trade material for position. Stop chasing tempo that isn't yours. You mistake agreeableness for strength. Strength is direction under pressure. Keep your king in the center, only when the center is reinforced. Aim for masculine sovereignty that does not beg the crowd for breath. With the map in hand, you can see how leverage appears exactly where you disown yourself. Leverage begins where you refuse ownership. You show a gap, and someone inserts a lever. Jung projection turns shadow into scenery. Traits you repress appear on her face, so you react to your own material. Identify with a persona, and you become brittle, eager to please to keep the mask. You mistake attention for oxygen. In the attention economy, every micro-signal becomes currency. A delayed reply feels like debt. You pay with speed, jokes, gifts, over-explanation. Tests appear, subtle, a tease, a reschedule, a cool tone. You read verdicts where there are only variables. You chase certainty, and chasing becomes the handle she can pull without even noticing. History already mapped the pattern. Courtly love dressed submission in poetry. The knight kneels, performs, suffers proofs. Salons updated, wit and status filtered suitors while intimacy stayed scarce. Nietzsche would argue that craving approval weakens the will. In modern dating dynamics, ambiguity is the test itself. If you rush to end tension, you advertise dependence. The chessboard explains the feeling. The queen pins your knight. Love did not shift. Your position exposed a tactic. You mistake agreeableness for strength, and your pieces scatter. Evolutionary selection reads signals, not speeches. Reliability, resources, self-command. When you broadcast in a hurry, you imply unreliability under pressure. Some people, under certain incentives, will pull the handles you present, others merely mirror them. Structure is indifferent to intentions. Choose individuation over applause and masculine sovereignty over scrambling. Set standards that limit tribute. Install credible boundaries. Let slow replies be ordinary. Treat desire like chess, not crisis. Improve the position instead of begging for a move. When you project, the world obliges with tests designed to collect it. You want to believe you were drafted, but you volunteered. The contract is written in small moves, the instant reply, the soft laugh at a dull joke, the apology no one asked for. On the social stage, you lift a mask, then bargain from behind it. That mask spends your future like a credit card. Every swipe adds interest. Jung framed the persona as a useful tool that calcifies when you over-identify. Integration begins where performance ends. You mistake being agreeable for being safe. Safety comes from boundaries, not bargains. Look backward and you'll see the pattern. Under the attention economy, display tempts you to pay with access. Thirst traps and virtue posts are mirrors, not verdicts. Some people, under certain incentives, tug the strings you leave dangling. You mistake being chosen for being understood. Kierkegaard warned that the crowd self breeds despair. Warmth without identity hollows you out. Individuation means stepping off the stage and into daylight, where silence sketches your outline. You choose presence over performance, even when applause is cheap. Now I look forward to it. In dating dynamics, compliance is a contract. You perform, hoping desire will arrive later. It won't. Lacan observed that serving the other's desire turns you into scenery on someone else's script. Put the pen down. Your time is not tribute. Set boundaries. Slower cadence, fewer explanations, standards with consequences. You mistake intensity for love. It is anesthesia for fear. The forge is honest. Heat only reveals what was weak. Strategy, not sin. If you can sign, you can also refuse. Attraction rises when you stand still inside yourself. The paradox is simple. The more you perform, the colder the room becomes. Presence draws heat. Pleasing drains it. Attention is not affection. Speed is not commitment or true respect. Jung would call the cure individuation the slow centering that lets you feel desire without begging it to stay. Think of the forge. Metal holds shape only after heat, hammer, and cool silence. You mistake intensity for intimacy. You mistake constant access for care. You are not required to audition. Hold your line. Nietzsche would say, strength attracts because it does not flinch. When you orbit her schedule, her moods, her feed, you trade the throne for a folding chair. Mission-first habits, time discipline, gym, craft signal frame without speeches. High-value signals are quiet, limited availability, calibrated cadence, relaxed eye contact. Low-value signals are loud, instant compliance, reactive texting, over-disclosure. You mistake her curiosity for a command. You mistake friction for failure. Desire needs space to spark. Evolutionary logic reads signals of autonomy and reliability more than sweet talk. In modern dating dynamics, scarcity of attention beats torrents of flattery. Set boundaries. Reply when you mean it. Decline when it misaligned. Leave some Saturday hours unscheduled. Let silence carry weight. You mistake anxiety for urgency. It is simply untrained energy looking for a task. Stand still long enough to feel it transform. That is masculine sovereignty without theatrics. Steady heat, no smoke. Desire breathes in distance and dies in dependency. When you stop performing, the room changes temperature. Friends who loved the show miss the old script. They say your boundaries feel cold. They mean the tribute ended. Jung noted individuation begins with a corridor of loneliness. The psyche reorders before it re-enters. You mistake the silence for failure. It is simply clearing space for a different signal. Expect pushback. Social homeostasis hates new edges. In dating dynamics, slower replies get framed as arrogance, and attention withdrawal becomes scandalous. Some people, under certain incentives, will bait you back to the stage. Resist. Kierkegaard warned that becoming a self runs through dread. You are walking that path now, with no applause to pace you. The forge is hot, then empty. You cool in the dark. Nietzsche would say the herd resents whoever steps aside. Mockery arrives as jokes, screenshots, little verdicts. Treat each as data. You mistake criticism for prophecy. It is only measurement that your frame is visible. In the attention economy, you are expected to explain, emote, and entertain. Refuse the tax. Choose masculine sovereignty over simultaneity. Keep your calendar tight, your words fewer, your time priced. This is the war of attrition, their pings against your posture. You hold because the abyss is finite. It only feels endless while you stare. Count the losses and let them go. Lose the audience that liked you weakest. You mistake loneliness for a verdict. It is a corridor, not a cell. Hold the line. If you can bear the quiet, you earn a different circle. Start each day with a ledger of mind and a rule of life. 10 minutes of journalism, brief dream notes, and one honest sentence. What am I avoiding? That's Jung's work in practice, making the unconscious conscious by routine, not drama. You mistake inspiration for discipline. Discipline is inspiration domesticated. Keep the logbook visible. It reminds the body to show up. Guard your calendar like a castle. Slots are vows. Message cadence is part of your frame. Respond when you mean it, not when anxiety begs. Establish boundaries and keep them after midnight. Some people, under certain incentives, will test openings, close them politely, then move. Individuation grows through repetition. Your nervous system learns silence isn't danger. In modern dating dynamics, scarcity signals steadiness more than speeches. Add penalties to your promises. Machiavelli says reputation lives on credible consequences. A missed standard cancels access. Use a chess mindset. Prepare an opening repertoire for scheduling and escalation, so you never scramble. You mistake being flexible for being generous. Generosity without limits is leakage. Build a skill stack and train the body daily. The throne requires a weight-bearing base. This is masculine sovereignty expressed, not performed. Once a week, audit what drained, what compounded, what was theater. Adjust one lever. In the attention economy, clarity beats volume. Pick 3 channels. Go deep. Keep one sacred hour for craft, untouched by screens. Choose the path you can love on dull days. Integration without a mission still drifts. Point it somewhere worthy. Drop the storyline where women are either judges or saviors. See the person. When projection withdraws, the face in front of you stops echoing uncrowned fears and hopes. Jung's point is practical. Relate to the other, not a screen. You mistake intensity for proof. It's often your color splashed on the mirror. Breathe. Ask what is said, what is done. Treat feedback as data. In modern dating dynamics, transparent standards clean the air. I'm available these days. I move slow. I value boundaries. Collaboration begins where guessing ends. Some people, under certain incentives, will still pull for tribute. You don't need to moralize that. You need to hold the frame. Individuation is the quiet craft of staying present without demanding completion. Lacan reminds you that no one fills the inner gap. That's not cynicism, it's mercy. When you stop asking for rescue, you stop resenting reality. You mistake distance for disinterest. Sometimes it's respect for your time. You mistake friction for failure. Often it's too subjective, negotiating a pace. Use the forge. Test words against actions. Heat against time. Let attention slow down. Drop idol and enemy. Return the image to yourself and meet the person. When you stop asking for completion, you can finally offer presence. Dawn breaks, and you choose a direction. Mission first. You order your days like a craftsman, hours for skill, hours for strength, hours for silence. Jung calls this a life of individuation, not escape, integrating what you once projected so presence replaces acting. You mistake motion for meaning. Meaning is chosen, built. The forge is simple. Show up, apply heat, cool with rest, return. You create values through action. That is Nietzsche's challenge answered. Guard the throne of your attention with boundaries that even you obey. In modern dating dynamics, selection happens by deselection. You say no to misaligned plans, noisy threads, and the endless scroll of the attention economy. You mistake being chosen for being understood. You will be understood by those who watch you keep promises. Keep a mission calendar and a ledger. Reps, pages, revenue, hours of sleep. Let metrics humble you and guide you. Some people, under certain incentives, will pull for tribute. Your standard is refusal without resentment. Masculine sovereignty is not volume, it is orientation under pressure. When the mask tries to return, hold still until the animal settles and the mirror clears. Walk the edge. Offer strength, not spectacle. Choose the work that survives your moods. Fire, then form. Presence over display. When you stand this way, attraction stabilizes without pleading, and respect arrives on its own feet. Dawn breaks and you choose a direction. Mission first. You order your days like a craftsman. Hours for skill, hours for strength, hours for silence. Jung frames this as lifelong individuation, not escape, integrating what you once scattered, so presence replaces display. You mistake motion for meaning. Meaning is chosen and kept. The forge is simple. Apply heat, take the shape, cool with rest, return. Create values through action. Guard the throne of your attention with boundaries you obey before anyone else. In modern dating dynamics, selection happens by deselection. You say no to noise, drift, and the loops of the attention economy. You mistake being chosen for being understood. You will be understood by those who watch you keep promises. Keep a mission calendar and a ledger that tracks reps, pages, revenue, and sleep. Metrics, steady humility and direction. Some people, under certain incentives, will pull for tribute. Decline without resentment. Masculine sovereignty is not a speech, it is orientation under pressure. Build a skill stack that compounds when feelings lag. You mistake volume for influence. Influence is proof repeated in private. When the old mask tugs at you, hold still until the animal settles and the mirror clears. Walk the edge. Offer strength, not spectacle. Choose the work that survives your moods. Fire, then form. Presence over display. Stand now, like a man who does not outsource his reflection.